Welcome to a deep dive into Renaissance technologies. It's where math, well, it meets the market. We're going deep into Gregory Zuckerman's book, The Man Who Solved the Market,
Ah,
to uncover how Jim Simons, this math whiz, built a hedge fund that, it seems to defy all the rules. So get ready for some behind-the-scenes stories and those aha moments that will change how you think about, investing.
yeah, it's not just about picking stocks.
Right,
No,
yeah.
this deep dive is really about understanding how Simon's unique journey, from cracking Cold War codes
Wow.
to leading like a team of these unconventional thinkers, led to this almost mythical level of success in finance.
It's true. Okay, so picture this. Little Jimmy Simon's like 3 years old, doubling numbers for fun.
Yeah.
Then at 4, he's already wrapping his head around Zeno's paradox. You might be wondering, how does pondering those impossible problems, like as a kid, translate into conquering Wall Street?
Well, that early fascination, it hints at a mind wired for complex systems,
Right.
for spotting patterns where others just see chaos. That becomes his superpower at Renaissance.
Yeah.
But it wasn't all like equations and algorithms in his early life. There's this great anecdote about young Simons and his family laughing at his MIT
No,
aspirations
really.
because, he couldn't even keep track of gardening supplies at a summer job.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And yet, he not only gets into MIT, but he thrives there. Talk about proving everyone wrong.
Right.
It
Yeah.
really speaks to his drive and his ability to overcome challenges.
Yes, his parents were a big influence too.
Yeah.
They encouraged him to follow his passions, even if they seemed, off the beaten path.
Hmm.
His dad, Matty, regretted not pursuing his own dreams and instilled in Simons this belief that you got to chase what you love.
That's a lesson we could all take to heart, right?
Absolutely.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing. He saw a different side of America during a road trip through the South with a friend, poverty, racial prejudice, the kind of stuff that sticks with you.
And it did stick with him. It shaped his worldview and became a driving force behind his huge philanthropic efforts later on. He saw the need to address those inequalities head on, not just through words, but action.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's this brilliant mind, driven by a sense of purpose, and then comes this super intriguing chapter Cold War code breaker at the Institute for Defense Analyses.
Uh-huh.
Talk about high stakes.
Yeah, this is where his data-driven approach to trading starts to take shape.
Okay.
He's deciphering these complex codes, finding patterns in seemingly random data.
Uh-huh.
It's almost like boot camp for the financial markets.
Wow, that's a great way to put it. But then, classic Simons, he pulls a wise guy move, tells the New York Times he's done with defense work,
Oh, yeah.
and boom, he's fired.
He always had this independent streak, this need to be in control.
Yeah.
That firing, it was a turning point. It pushed him toward the world of finance, a place where he could, call the shots.
Right. But before he takes Wall Street by storm, there's this period where he builds Stony Brook University's math department into a powerhouse.
Yes.
He wasn't just attracting brilliant minds.
Right.
He was creating an environment where they could collaborate and push the boundaries of knowledge.
Absolutely. It wasn't just about individual brilliance.
Mm-hmm.
He understood the power of teamwork, of bringing together diverse perspectives to solve, really challenging problems.
Right.
That becomes the blueprint for Renaissance technologies.
So he's got this amazing track record of success.
Yeah.
But then his early forays into trading, well, let's just say they weren't exactly Wall Street legend material.
His first attempts were actually pretty disastrous.
Oh, really?
He was relying on gut feelings and intuition, which, as we'll see, is the complete opposite of his later approach.
Okay.
There's even a story about him practically having an existential crisis on his couch after losing a bunch of money.
Oh, wow. You can imagine the blow, right?
Yeah.
Here's this math genius staring into the abyss of financial failure.
Yeah.
But it's in those moments of defeat that the seeds of Renaissance are sown.
That experience was a wake-up call.
Yeah.
It made him realize the dangers of letting emotion drive trading decisions and spark this obsession with building a system that eliminates those human weaknesses.
Fascinating. So he's ready for a new approach, one that's data-driven, unemotional, almost like a machine. And that's when he starts assembling this dream team, James Axe, Sandor Strauss.
Yeah.
These are not your typical Wall Street guys.
Strauss, for instance, was obsessed with data integrity. He knew that bad data leads to bad decisions, no matter how fancy your algorithms are.
Right.
He meticulously cleaned and verified every single data point,
Wow.
the foundation for their future success.
They're building this data-driven machine, but even with all this brain power and clean data, finding those reliable trading signals, it was like searching for a needle in a haystack. They were even looking at sunspots and lunar phases for clues.
Remember, even geniuses can go down rabbit holes. They were still searching for that elusive edge, experimenting with all sorts of ideas, some more out there than others. Then comes Elwin Berlekamp, a mathematical rock star who's initially skeptical of the whole endeavor.
Really?
Yeah, he's like, you guys are trying to predict the market, really?
Yeah.
But Berlekamp brought this healthy dose of skepticism,
Right.
this rigorous thinking that pushed them to refine their approach.
I see.
And as they dig deeper, they stumble upon something pretty remarkable, the 24-hour effect.
What's that?
They notice this weird quirk where currencies would behave in predictable ways over a 24-hour cycle. Boom, a trading edge emerges.
They're starting to see the potential, but they're still a long way from building the legendary medallion fund machine. This is where it gets really interesting. Enter Rene Carmona, who brings even more complex nonlinear models to the table.
Right.
These are the precursors to the black box algorithms that would later define Renaissance.
Now, Simons was initially hesitant about these super complex models. He preferred things he could understand, things that were transparent.
Right.
But as their success grew, he started trusting the data, trusting the algorithms more than human intuition.
Interesting. That shift toward complexity was also fueled by the diverse talent he was bringing in.
Absolutely.
We're talking mathematicians, speech recognition experts, all sorts of unconventional thinkers.
It was a radical departure from the traditional Wall Street model, which was all about finance guys in suits. Simons believed that innovation comes from bringing together people from different fields, each with their own unique perspective.
And speaking of radical, their hiring process was notoriously intense.
Yeah.
They weren't just looking for smarts, they were looking for people who could think outside the box and thrive in this high-pressure collaborative environment.
Yeah.
Once you were in, forget about bragging rights, the secrecy surrounding their methods was legendary.
That secrecy was partly about protecting their intellectual property, but also about Simons's aversion to the limelight. He valued privacy and wanted to stay under the radar, even as their success reached astronomical levels.
They were operating in their own world.
Yeah.
A world where data was king and algorithms held the keys to untold riches. And they were just getting started, so they've built this incredible system, this money-making machine. But then the year 2000 rolls around and the tech bubble bursts. Even Medallion, with all its sophisticated algorithms, it wasn't immune to the chaos?
It was a real trial by fire. They were losing millions,
Wow.
even tens of millions, in a single day.
Oh, man.
It exposed the limitations of even the most advanced models,
I bet that was a white-knuckle ride for everyone involved. What did they do? Did they abandon ship and start over from scratch?
Not quite.
Okay.
They took a hard look in the mirror, and they doubled down on risk management. The experience instilled a healthy dose of humility. They realized that models are powerful tools, but they're not infallible.
It's a constant evolution, right? Even the most brilliant minds have to adapt and learn from their mistakes. But even with this setback, Medallion kept getting better.
Oh, yeah.
They were obsessed with finding new data sources, refining their algorithms, squeezing every ounce of insight from the markets.
Their mantra became, there's no data, like more data.
I love
They were collecting everything.
Wow.
News articles, weather patterns, anything that could potentially give them an edge. It was like they were trying to build a crystal ball, but instead of magic, it was powered by data.
So they're riding this wave of success, becoming a force to be reckoned with on Wall Street. But, as they say, with great power comes great responsibility, or in this case, great internal conflicts.
Right.
The culture, that collaborative spirit they'd built, it starts to fray under the pressure of success.
Exactly. As the money piled up,
Yeah.
so did the tensions between those who wanted to use it for personal gain and those who felt a responsibility to use it for something, bigger than themselves.
And then there's the whole situation with Simons' sons. He brought them into the firm, gave them leadership roles, which caused some grumbling about nepotism.
Yeah.
People started questioning if it was really about merit or just family ties.
It definitely raised questions about fairness and transparency within the firm.
Yeah.
Was this a meritocracy or was it, something else?
Right.
And all of this is happening as Simons faces some incredibly tough personal losses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Two of his sons tragically pass away.
I can't even imagine the grief and the impact that must have had on him. It's a stark reminder that even in the world of high finance, life throws curveballs that no algorithm can predict.
Those losses profoundly affected his outlook. He
Yeah.
became more introspective,
Yeah.
more focused on his philanthropic work. It's like he was searching for something deeper, something beyond the realm of markets and algorithms.
But the drama doesn't end there. One of the most fascinating subplots is the story of Robert Mercer, one of the key figures at Renaissance, and his controversial political activities.
Right? Mercer's political leanings were the opposite of Simon's. He
Yep.
became a major funder of conservative causes
Okay.
and played a significant role in the rise of Donald Trump.
Wow.
It created a real rift within the firm.
Talk about a clash of ideologies. What did Simons do? Did he try to rein in Mercer's political activities?
At first, he hesitated to get involved. He
Mm,
believed in freedom of expression
right.
and didn't want to dictate people's personal beliefs. But as Mercer's actions became more extreme
Yeah.
and attracted negative attention, Simons felt he had to act.
It must have been a tough call, balancing his personal values with the interests of the firm. It ultimately led to a major split between the two.
Eventually, Simons decided to part ways with Mercer. It was a bold move,
Mm-hmm.
a statement that he wasn't willing to compromise his principles,
Right.
even for the sake of financial success.
It's a powerful reminder that sometimes you have to stand up for what you believe in, even if it costs you. But even with all this internal turmoil, Medallion kept churning out those incredible returns. Their system was seemingly unstoppable.
And as their success continued, people started to raise concerns about the impact of these powerful algorithms on the market as a whole. Especially after the flash crash of 2010,
Oh, right.
when the market suddenly plummeted,
Uh,
some people pointed fingers at algorithmic trading as the culprit.
right. The idea that these computer programs were creating a system that was too complex, too interconnected, and potentially like too fragile.
Yeah.
Did those concerns lead to any changes at Renaissance? Did they try to address these ethical questions about the potential downsides of their approach?
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you had this incredible success,
Huh?
this ability to generate wealth unlike anything we'd seen before.
Right.
But on the other hand, you have these growing concerns about transparency,
Yeah.
about the potential for these black box algorithms to create like unintended consequences.
So what was Simons's response to this growing criticism? Did he acknowledge these concerns?
It was a tricky situation.
Yeah.
Simons was fiercely protective of his firm's intellectual property,
Right.
and he wasn't particularly keen on public debates about the ethics of their approach.
I see.
He maintained that their algorithms were simply sophisticated tools,
Uh-huh.
and that ultimately it was the human beings behind those tools who were responsible for their use.
So a classic case of technology outpacing our ability to fully understand its implications.
Exactly.
It sounds like the debate about the ethics of algorithmic trading is far from settled. But one thing's for sure, Jim Simons and Renaissance Technologies, they changed the game. They showed the world that a data-driven approach, a scientific approach, could unlock these incredible secrets hidden within the market. It's a story that's both inspiring and honestly a little bit unsettling.
It's like they cracked the code, but the code keeps changing and the implications of, cracking it are still unfolding.
Right.
It raises these questions about the role of human judgment, the potential risks of these like incredibly powerful algorithms and, the ethical boundaries of this new kind of financial power.
But it's not all about markets and algorithms, right?
Well,
Simons has also made a huge impact on the world of science and education through his philanthropic work. Tell me about the Simons Foundation
okay.
and Math for America.
He's poured millions into advancing scientific research
Yeah.
and supporting STEM education.
Wow.
The Simons Foundation is funding cutting-edge research in fields like mathematics, physics, neuroscience, trying to push the boundaries of human knowledge.
And with Math for America, he's tackling the shortage of qualified math and science teachers in public schools, which is a pretty big deal.
It is.
It shows that he's not just interested in making money.
Right.
He wants to use his wealth to make a, real difference.
It's like he's trying to solve problems on a whole different level.
Yeah.
Not just financial problems, but problems that affect humanity as a whole.
Right.
And even with all his success, he's still got this insatiable curiosity.
Yeah.
This drive to, understand the world around him.
There's this great story about him going dune bashing in Qatar.
Oh, yeah.
He's terrified at first, but then in the middle of all that fear, he has this aha moment where he figures out, like, the physics of why the vehicle won't tip over.
It perfectly captures his personality,
Yeah.
this combination of intellectual brilliance
Hmm.
and this almost childlike wonder at the workings of the universe.
Yeah.
He's a true polymath, someone who can move seamlessly between different fields of knowledge.
So what's the takeaway here? What's the legacy of Jim Simons and Renaissance technologies? What should we, the listeners, be thinking about after this deep dive?
I think they've shown us that the world is full of hidden patterns,
Mm-hmm.
and that with the right tools and the right mindset, we can unlock those patterns and use them to achieve, incredible things. But they've also shown us that those tools, they come with responsibilities,
Right.
with ethical considerations that we can't afford to ignore.
We're left with these big questions, right?
Yes.
How do we balance the pursuit of knowledge and profit
Yeah.
with the need for transparency and ethical responsibility? Can human intuition and judgment ever be fully replaced by algorithms?
And maybe the biggest question of all,
Yeah.
what happens when the brilliant minds who build these systems, they turn their attention to problems beyond the world of finance?
Right.
What kind of impact will they have on the future of science, of education, of humanity itself?
That's something for you to ponder. We've just scratched the surface of the complex world of Jim Simons and Renaissance technologies, but hopefully this deep dive has given you a new perspective on the intersection of math, markets, and the human mind. Thanks for joining us on this journey. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the forces shaping our world.